Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Churchill Downs here on Saturday. It is May the 5th, 2018. It's Kentucky Derby Day from Churchill, and I'm going to look at all the stakes races on today's program, including the Kentucky Derby. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and join me on YouTube, all Triple Crown Lawn, for full card selections from Pimlico and Belmont. It's going to be a great couple of weeks ahead, so join me on YouTube for that. But today's card from Churchill is a great card, a great late pick 4 sequence. It's just, it's one of the best cards so far in North America this year. So let's get on to it. Like I said, going to look at all the stakes races, races 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the 12th race. Race 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the featured 12th race, which is the Kentucky Derby. So let's get on to it, starting off with race number 6 from Churchill. The 6th race, it's the 32nd running of the Humana Distaff Grade 1 race, going for a purse at $300,000. It's for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 8 horses going the distance of ground of 1,400 meters. That's for our international viewers, or the distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the Churchill main dirt course. And I show the diagram. Just gives me a second to look down at my notes. Just bear with me. Sorry, I'm stupid. I can't do two things at the same time. My top selection in this race, I like the number 4 horse, as my iPad never wants to load. My top selection, the number 4 horse. Wrong time not to load the iPad. Top selection, the 4, Sky Diamonds, 5-1. Mike Smith is on this 5-year-old mare by First Dude. 4-8-2-1 in the superfecta. 4-8-2-1 super. That's my top 4, but my top selection is the 4 horse Sky Diamonds for the 5th time. 5-1. Mike Smith is on this one, making this horse's first start in about 6 weeks. March 24th was the horse's most recent outing at Santa Anita. 7 furlongs in the Grade 2 Santa Monica. This horse finished 3rd by 5 3/4 lengths. It was a small field of 5 horses and stalked early, and just couldn't get the good closing kick at the end. The winner, Selcourt, just ran a little bit of a better race that day. This horse, like I said, just couldn't get that good closing kick. And the 2nd place finisher in the Santa Monica did win next start out, so just keep that in mind. But before that, in the Grade 3 Las Flores at Santa Anita, 6th furlong, February the 18th. Horse finished 3rd by 3/4 of length that day. Lost to Selcourt again. This horse didn't have the best of trips that day. It was a little bit wide. Closed up a little bit at the end, but it just wasn't enough for this horse to get the victory. And plus, it was the horse's first off the layoff. First start before that, the 4th of November at Del Mar. 7 furlongs in Breeze Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Horse finished 4th by 3.5 lengths that day. Just didn't have, again, the best of runs. Very tough race. It just wasn't this horse's day to win. But I think getting the rider upgrade to Mike Smith here today, I think this horse could really run a big one. I like this horse in this race because you're going to see a lot of speed in this one, and this horse has the opportunity to stalk. And with the stalking position on this race course, I think a 5-1, this horse is due for a good run. This horse's last victory came in the Redondo Stakes at Del Mar, the 6.5 furlongs, August 13th. This horse won by 1 1/4 lengths, stalked, and then took off clear, beating a very nice horse by the name of Constellation. That race was very good for this horse. But since then, he's been facing tougher horses. This is a tough race also, but there's so much speed in this race, which should really benefit this one. Watch out for this horse at 5-1. Another horse I like here is the 8 horse American Gal. 7-2. Jose Ortiz is on this 4-year-old filly by Concord Point. This horse made his first start off the layoff most recently at Keeneland. 7 furlongs in the Grade 1 Madison. This horse finished 4th by neck. Was with the leaders, setting the pace early on, and then, just kind of weakened out of it the final strides of the race. It was an all-out finish. This horse got 4th. She definitely needed the race. I think second off, coming here to Churchill, this horse should run a lot better. Before that, this horse ran the 5th of August at Saratoga. 7 furlongs in the Grade 1 test. This horse won by 4 lengths and had a horrible post draw. 10 of 10, overcame it to have a great turn of foot at the end to have a great victory. So this horse has proven she could win from a wide post draw. And then before that, Belmont, the victory ride, horse won by 4.5 lengths, a very easy victory after a horrible break. I like this horse here a lot today. I think this horse's definite distance is 7 furlongs, and watch out for her to maybe upset. She's a horse I would use on a multi-race ticket, along with my top selection, so watch out. So to recap my bets for the 6th from Churchill, it's the 32nd running of the Grade 1 Humana Distaff. As a top selection, I'm going to go with the 4 horse Sky Diamonds. I'm going to go 4-8-2-1 in the superfecta. I'll go 4-8 in my multi-race wager ticket. So now let's get on to race number 7 from Race number 7 from Churchill. It's the first turf stakes race of the afternoon. The 7th race, it's the 33rd running of Longines Churchill Distaff Turf Mile. Grade 2 race going for a purse of $300,000. It's your fillies, mares, 4-year-olds, and upwards. Field of 11 horses going the distance of ground of 1,600 meters or the distance of ground of 1 mile on the Churchill turf course. Rails are not up, so they'll be running against the hedge. And they're supposed to get a little bit of rain on Friday and Saturday, off and on, scattered storms. And something to keep in mind with the turf races and rain at Churchill, the way that the course drains, the water goes to the inside, so you don't want an inside post row when the ground is wet. So the best position on the ground when it's wet is the 5 or 6 path. So just keep that in mind. If you have a rail horse and there's a torrential rainstorm about an hour before the race, you better start really looking over the race again. But I don't think I'll have a problem with this race, as my top selection comes from the 5 hole, the 5 horse Dream Dancing. I'm gonna go 5-3-9-6 in the superfecta. 5-3-9-6 super. Top pick number 5, Dream Dancing. 10-1. Javier Castellano is on this 4-year-old filly by Tappet. Mark Cassie trains this one. This horse's most recent outing came on the 10th of February at Gulfstream Park. A mile and 1/8 in the Shawnee River Stakes, a grade 3 event. This horse finished 7th by 3 3/4 lengths that day. And, just was very wide and never really had a run. The ground was very dry that day. This is the kind of horse that will like a little bit of a wet course. Good course for this horse is good. Before that, on good ground in the Marshua River Stakes at Gulfstream, mile 16th, January 13th, horse had a very good second place finish by 1 3/4 lengths. Stalk that day was a little bit wide, but had a great turn of foot at the end. Wasn't a bad outing. And then the QE2 Cup at Keeneland, mile 8th, October the 14th. Horse finished 7th by 6.5 lengths. Just didn't have the best of closing kicks that day. Couldn't catch the winner for the horse's first start back east in quite a while. And then before that, in the West Coast, in Del Mar Oaks at Del Mar, mile 8th, August the 19th. This horse won by nose, was basically last and very wide on the turf course, which you don't want to do, but this horse overcame with a great turn of foot at the end to get the victory by a small margin, but it counted that day. This horse is 1-0 here at Churchill. Her only race on the turf course at Churchill came in last year's Edgewood, where she finished second behind La Coronel, who just ran a little bit of a better race. This horse had a horrible trip in last year's race, but I think coming here with a better post draw today, I think this horse could run a big one. 10-1. Watch out. A horse I have for second on my tickets to 3 horse Dream a While. 7-2. I rode Ortiz Jr.'s on this one. Chad Brown trains this one. This horse is coming out of that Shawnee River Stakes at Gulfstream Park, as my other horse comes out of. I'm on 8th, February the 10th. This horse finished second by a neck that day. Stalk that day, got the lead, and then got overtaken by Elisa's World, who just ran a little bit better at the end. But this horse ran her heart out for her 3rd start in North America. Before then, Tropical Oaks at Gulfstream, mile 16th, December the 30th. Horse won by 3/4 length. Sat towards the back of the pack that day, but had a great turn of foot at the end. And it counted that day. Very nice victory for this horse, second in North America, second off the layoff. And then before that at Aqueduct, November the 9th, mile 16th, good ground, optional 6-2 claimer. Horse finished 3rd by 3/4 length. Needed the race. She really didn't have that good acceleration like she did in France. She's a horse that's proven that she can run on wet ground. So if you have a torrential rainstorm before the race, she'll really like it. She's a nice horse. Definitely gets the distance. Watch out for her today. So to recap my bets for today's 7th race from Churchill, it's the 33rd running of the Grade 2 Churchill Distaff Turf Mile. Gonna go as a top selection the 5 horse Dream Dancing. Gonna go 5-3-9-6 in the superfecta. So now let's get on to race number 8 from Churchill. The 8th race, it's the 84th running of the Churchill Downs, presented by TwinSpires.com. This race is a Grade 2 race going for a purse of $500,000, $500,000. This race for 4-year-olds and upwards, field of 10 horses going the distance of ground of 1,400 meters or the distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the Churchill main dirt course. And like I said earlier, I showed the diagram, just gives me a second to look down at my notes. And like I said earlier, I'm too stupid to do 2 things at the same time. My top selection in this race, I like the number 5 horse Outplay. I'm going to go 5-7-3-11 in the superfecta. 5-7-3-11 super. Top pick number 5, Outplay. 10-1. John Velazquez is on this top Pletcher train 4-year-old colt by Bernardini. Rapoli Stables owns this one. Rapoli Stables is my next door neighbor, by the way. This horse's most recent outing came on 31st of March. That came at Gulfstream Park. 7 furlongs, an optional 6-2 claimer. This horse's first time facing over older horses was a success. Won by 5.5 lengths. Didn't break all that well at the beginning. Was a little bit wide, but had a great turn of foot at the end. Very nice victory for that race. That race was, it was an allowance optional claimer, but it was a good optional. It could have been a grade 3 race. It was good quality horses. Before that, this horse ran the 23rd of September at Parks, a mile and 8th in the PA Derby. This horse finished 6th by 11 1/4 lengths. Was with the leaders early on, then just hit the wall. I think this horse's definite distance will be a 1-turn mile or a 7 furlong trip. 2 turns, I just don't think this horse would really like it. And then before that, Saratoga in the Curlin mile and 8th. This horse won by 5 3/4 lengths. Was on a lead all throughout, but speed horses like this horse, at Saratoga going mile and 8th really are the horses you want. And this horse had it and just won easily. Like I said, he's not a horse I would really like around 2 turns, but at Saratoga I would like him around 2 turns because it's very speed favoring and this horse has a speed in it. But at a race course like Churchill or Pimlico around 2 turns, he's not a horse I would really like, but 1 turn I'd like him a lot. And then before that, an easy goer at Belmont, mile 16th, June the 10th. Horse finished 3rd by 5 3/4 lengths that day. West Coast ran a hell of a race that day. One next start out in the low style low style Derby, and then one next start out after that in the Travers. This horse was just wide, and just really couldn't get that good run at the end. But like I said, this horse has some speed into him. He won a very nice race last time out. Second off the layup, I think he should run a major race, 10-1. I love the price. I'm all over this horse in this race. The 7 horse who I have for second on my superfecta ticket. Limousine Liberal, 4-1. Jose Ortiz, 6-year-old gelding by successful appeal. This horse loves Churchill. Is 7-5 over it. But if you look at the races this horse has been running in, some of those races weren't grade 1 races. Some of those races were, lower end stakes races. But this horse ran this race last year here in the Churchill Downs Stakes on a wet, fast, but seal going, and this horse won by a head. Didn't break all that well. Was basically last coming out of the gate. But tracked the leaders, got the lead, and he held on at the end. He had a great victory at 13-1. After that, he won the Arstide Stakes here at Churchill later in the month, and then went on to win the Kelly's Landing very easily at Churchill. He's a horse that would like a very wet going also. But you're probably not going to see sloppy. If you see the crowd, the track will probably be, if they get some rain, probably good. You won't see. I doubt you would see a sloppy race course today, but maybe good at the worst, really. This horse's Limousine Liberal's last race came in the Grade 3 Commonwealth at Keeneland last month. This horse finished second by a neck, and that day. This horse sat towards the back of the pack, but had a great turn of foot at the end. Just missed, but this horse ran a hell of a race. Before that, in the Bet of Sunshine Stakes here at Churchill, some furlongs last November, horse won by 4 1/4 lengths. His best horse by a mile, improved it, but that was a lower end stakes race. And then the Phoenix at Keeneland, six furlongs last October. Horse finished third by neck, a little bit wide and just missed at the end. I think this horse here has been training well. Second off the layoff, I think this horse can maybe get a piece of it at the end. He's a horse I would definitely use on a multi-race, so watch out. So to recap my bets for today's 8th race from Churchill Downs, it's the 84th running of the Grade 2 Churchill Downs presented by TwinSpires.com. As a top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse Outplay. I'm going to go 5, 7, 3, 11 in the superfecta. I'll go 5, 7 in a multi-race pick 4, pick 5 ticket. So now let's get on to race number 9 from Churchill Downs. Race number 9 from Churchill Downs. It's the 27th running of the American Turf, presented by Ram Trucks. It's a Grade 2 race going for a purse of $300,000. This race is for 3-year-olds here. Field of 15 horses. The number 15 horse Alternative Route is also eligible, so if somebody scratches from the main portion of the 14, he will get in. And it actually looks like he'll probably get in because it looks like the 12 horse Rushing Fall, who is entered for the 10th race on Friday, is going to scratch out of this one to run Friday, so he'll probably be in here. So we have 14 horses most likely going to the gate, going the distance of ground of 1,700 meters or 1 mile and 1/16 on the Churchill Turf course. 1,700 meters, a mile and 1/16. Top selection in this race, I like the number 3 horse here, 3 and 4 pence. I'm going to go 3, 10, 11, 1 in the superfecta. 3, 10, 11, 1 super. Top pick number 3, 3 and 4 pence. 4-1, Ryan Moore's on this 3-year-old colt by Warfront. Aiden O'Brien trains this one. First time Lasix, first start stateside. Most recent outing came on the 31st of March. That came in Dubai at Maidan. A mile and 3/16, 1,900 meters in the Grade 2 or Group Group 2 UAE Derby. This horse finished ninth by 55 3/4 lengths. Did not handle the dirt at all. Was way out of it. Hit the wall. Throw that race out. It just wasn't this horse's day to win. Before that, the 9th of March at Dundalk on the 1 mile, 1600 meters on the poly track in the Patton Stakes, won the win your wins for the Kentucky Derby. This horse finished second by 3/4 length behind Mendelssohn, who's running later this afternoon. This horse, is with the leaders early on, and just, Mendelssohn just got to this horse at the end. This horse was second best. And then before that, as a 2-year-old, on the 14th of October at Newmarket, 7 furlongs, 1400 meters in the Group 1 Dewhurst. Horse finished 4th by 5 lengths. U.S. Navy flag, who ran that day, ran a hell of a race. This horse just really couldn't catch him, weakened out of it. Second place finisher Mendelssohn went on to win next start out in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and then went on to win the UAE Derby, the Patton Stakes, and then is running later this afternoon. And then before that, this horse ran just a basic main race in a Ferry House in Ireland. Horse won by nose, very easy victory. I think coming here to North America with a little bit of a lower weight, which this horse really like on this ground, 2 turns, I think this horse should run a very good race. 4-1. Watch out for this horse here today. He's definitely been facing tougher horses abroad, so watch out for this one. Another horse I like here is the number 10 horse, Maraud. 6-1. John Velasquez is on this 3-year-old colt by Belay. Top Electric trains this one. This horse's most recent outing came on the 6th of April. That came at Keeneland, yielding ground a mile 16th in Grade 3 Transylvania. Horse finished 5th by 6.5 lengths that day. It never really quickened up that day. This horse should have done a lot better than he did. It just wasn't his day to win. I think coming back here with a little bit of a drier ground, I think this horse will run well. Before that, 3rd of March at Gulfstream Park, mile 16th in Grade 3 Palm Beach, probably one of my favorite races at Gulfstream during the winter. This horse won by neck. He stalked early, had a great turn of foot at the end, and he got there. Great victory for this horse, carrying quite low weight of 114 pounds. And then at Gulfstream, good ground, a mile 16th optional 70 claimer, won the horse's best race of his lifetime, won by 2 lengths, quickened up nicely, and had a very good victory coming from mid-pack. I like his running style here coming from mid-pack. He should like the going. You should see a good pace in front of him. Watch out for him maybe to upset at 6-1. So to recap my bets for today's 9th race from Churchill, it's the 27th running of the Grade 2 American Turf. Gonna go with the 3 horse, 3 and 4 pence. I'm gonna go 3, 10, 11, 1 in the superfecta, my top 4. I'm gonna use the 3 horse in a multi-race pick 4, pick 5 ticket, and I'm gonna use the 10 horse most likely in a multi-race ticket also. And maybe I'll use the 11 horse Untamed Domain also on a multi-race ticket. So to recap the superfecta ticket, or my top 4, it's gonna go 3, 10, 11, 1. So now let's get on to race number 10 from Churchill. Race number 10 from Churchill. It's the 94th running of the Pat Day Mile, presented by LG&E and K&U. It's a Grade 3 race going for a purse of $300,000. It's for 3-year-olds here. Field of 14 3-year-olds going the distance of ground of 1,600 meters, or the distance of ground of the 1-turn mile. 1 mile, 1,600 meters. My top selection in this race, I'm going to go to the number 1 horse, National Flag. I'm going to go 112.78 in the superfecta, 112.78 super, but I'm going to talk about a few horses in this race because it's a very wide open race. My top selection here, the 1 horse, National Flag, 4-1. Flavian Pratt is on this 3-year-old colt by Spicetown, the winner of the 2004 Breeders' Cup Sprint at Lone Star. He was a great sprinter, but this National Flag, he ran a great race about a month ago now, 7th of April here in New York at Aqueduct, 7 furlongs in the Grade 3 Bayshore. This horse won by 4 lengths, so didn't have the best of beginnings that day, but after that, sat back early. In the stretch, this horse took off clear. A very nice, easy victory for this horse. It doesn't get any easier than that. Before that, on the 2nd of March at Gulfstream, 7 furlongs, optional 75 claimer. Horse won by 2 3/4 lengths. Again that day, he broke well that day, stalked early, got the lead, and then took off clear. A very nice, easy victory at 70 cents to the dollar. And then before that, the 4th of September at Saratoga, good ground, 7 furlongs in the Grade 1 Hopeful. This horse finished 5th by 7 1/4 lengths that day. Didn't have the best of beginnings, but went to the lead afterwards. And then this horse just took, it hit the wall at the end. It just wasn't his day to win. But he was a 2-year-old then. He was a little immature. But, into his 3-year-old campaign, he's been very, very good so far. He's been training very well. And I just think he'll run a very big one here today. So watch out for him. Another horse I like here is the number 12 horse to the outside, Restoring Hope, 9-2. Mike Smith is on the Strio colt by Giants Causeway. Blinkers on. This horse's most recent outing came here on the 7th of April here in New York again at Aqueduct, a mile and the 8th in the Wood Memorial. This horse finished third by 5 1/4 lengths. Had a wide trip that day, broke from barrier number 8 of 9, and was just too wide, and he just couldn't get that good closing kick. I think cutting back to a mile here today, I think it's going to be the right thing for this horse. Before that, 2nd of February, at Santa Anita, mile and 1/16 main special weight. Horse won by 3.5 lengths, stalked early, got the lead, and took off clear. Very nice victory for this horse in the end. But that was a field of nobodies. And then main special weight 54 at Santa Anita, mile 16th, December 30th. Horse finished third by 4.5 lengths. He just stalked early and couldn't get that. He couldn't quicken up at the end with the rest of them. I think he's a horse that you really like the one-turn mile. He's been training well in Southern California. Watch out for him to run a big one. Another horse I want to talk about is the number 7 horse, Madison's Luna, 5-1. Florent Giroux is on the Strio colt by Tappet. This horse has been running very well in this horse's two-start career. Most recently in the Grade 3 Hutchinson at Gulfstream, 6 furlongs, March 24th. Horse won by 5 lengths, 9-2 that day. Stalked early, got the lead, and took clear. Very easy victory that day. And then a Tampa 6.5 furlong main special weight 20,000. Horse won by 1 1/4 lengths. Stalked early, got the lead, and he won nicely. Not as impressive as Hutchinson, but he still won very nicely. He's been training very well also, and with a good post draw, he should really like the one-turn mile. I think he could run well, so watch out for this one here today. The 8 horse I have on my ticket to end off my superfecta, the 8 horse Mask. Javier Castellano is on the Strio colt by Tappet again. Chaparral trains this one. This horse's most recent outing came on the 6th of January at Gulfstream, 1 mile in the Mucho Macho Man. This horse won by 6 1/4 lengths, had an uncontested lead that day, and just won for fun. A very easy race. This horse went 112 and 4 to the 3/4, and it was just a walk in the park. Very easy race, first off the layoff. Before that, Belmont 6.5 in mean special weight 75. Horse won by 3 lengths. He stalked early, got the lead, and then took off clear. But the biggest question with this horse is a very long layoff. He's not going to get an easy lead like he did last time out. He's going to see 13 other rivals. I have him for 4th on my superfecta. If my pick 4 ticket gets a little out of hand in some other legs, if I single in other legs in my pick 4, and I could go deep in this race, he'll be used. But for definitely on a pick 4 ticket, I'm going to use my top 3. He might be used if I have extra bankroll. But he like I said, he's going to be the one that's going to have the biggest challenge ahead of him, because I think he's the most off the layoff, and he's very inexperienced. So, but if I have room to put him on a pick 4 ticket, I will. But there's other better horses in this race, mainly my top 3. So watch out for those 3. So to recap my bets for today's 10th race from Churchill Downs, it's the 94th running of the Grade 3 Pat Day Mile. As a top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 1 horse, National Flag. I'm also going to use the 12 horse, Restoring Hope, and I'll also use the number 7 horse, Madison's Luna, on a pick 4 or multi-race ticket. My superfecta for this race, my top 4 is 112.78. 112.78. So now let's get on to race number 11. Race number 11 from Churchill. It's the 32nd running of the Old Forester Turf Classic. It's a Grade 1 race here, going for a purse of $500,000. This race is for 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 10 horses here, going the distance of ground of 1,800 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 1/8 on the Churchill Turf Course. This is the featured turf event of the afternoon. My top selection in this race, I like the number 4 horse, Camelot Kitten. I'm going to go 4-1-10-9 in the superfecta. 4-1-10-9 super. Top pick number 4, Camelot Kitten. 8-1. Mike Smith is on this 5-year-old horse by Kitten's Joy. Mike Maker trains this one. This horse's most recent outing came on the 17th of March at Turfway Park. 1,800 meters, a mile and 1/8 in the Kentucky Cup Classic. For the first time in 9 years, they ran this race. This horse won by a head that day. Sat towards the back of the pack early, but had a great turn of foot in the stretch, and he got there. Very nice comeback victory for this horse. First win since October of 2016. Before that, this horse ran the 28th of January at Sam Houston, 2,400 meters, a mile and 1/2 in the John B. Connolly Stakes. This horse finished 4th by 5 1/4 lengths. He moved a little bit at the end, but personally, I think the 1.8 to a 1.25 distance will be up this horse's alley. But it was a decent comeback race, let's say. He's been on the improve since that race. Before that, the 16th of December at Gulfstream, 1 mile in the tropical turf. This horse finished 6th by 2 1/4 lengths that day. Sat about mid-pack most of the race and didn't have the best runs. It just wasn't his day to win. And then the 9th of October at Belmont, a mile and 1/8 in the inner turf course in the Grade 2 Knickerbocker Stakes. This horse finished 5th by 4 3/4 lengths. Sat about mid-pack most of the race, a little bit wide, just really never got there. This horse's 4-year-old campaign was a little subpar. He just never really had good runs, but his 5-year-old campaign so far has been quite. He's run quite well so far this year in his 5-year-old year. But as a 3-year-old, he ran incredibly well, shall I say. His last victory as a 3-year-old came on the 8th of October at Belmont, mile and 1/8 inner turf course in the Grade 3 Hill Prince. He won by a head, and I want to say that's probably this horse's best race lifetime. He closed on a race course that does not play towards closers, the inner turf course at Belmont. He won by a head, sitting from the back of the pack, a little bit wide, but he had a great kick. Like I said, that was probably the horse's best race lifetime. And then before that, in the Saranac at Saratoga, mile and 1/8 inner turf course, horse finished 2nd by a head, a little bit wide, had the lead, but then got overtaken right before the wire, but ran his heart out there, but won the Hall of Fame as a 2-year-old. And as a 3-year-old, and then finished 4th behind Deauville in the Belmont Derby as a 3-year-old. He's won over this race course before already 2 years ago. I think he should really run a big one. Mike Smith up. Watch out for this horse here today. Another horse I like here is the number 1 horse, Deauville. 3-1. Ryan Moore's on this 5-year-old horse by Galileo. Aiden O'Brien trains this one. You know, this horse's most recent outing came on the 18th of April at Newmarket during their Craven meeting. 1,800 meters, a mile and 1/8 in the Group 3 Earl of Sefton. This horse finished 2nd by a half length. You know, he just tracked the leading pair that day. He closed up well, but the winner was just a little bit fresher and had that turn of foot on him. It wasn't a bad race, but he just probably needed that race. I think coming back to North America today, where the horses are lesser quality on the turf division, I just think he'll run a very good race. Before that, he ran in Hong Kong at Sha Tin, a mile and 1/4 on good ground in the Hong Kong Cup. He finished 11th by 9 lengths that day, and he just was never there. He never showed up. Very tough race. It just wasn't his day to win. And then the Woodbine Mile at Woodbine, 1 mile E.P. Taylor Turf Course, 16th of September. Horse finished 11th by 12.5 lengths. Again, he stalked early, and then he just hit the wall. It wasn't his day to win. But before that, in the Arlington Million at Arlington, one of his best races of 2017, he finished 3rd by 3/4 length. Didn't break all that well early, but he had a decent turn of foot at the end. He just missed, but it was a great race for this horse. You know, his only victory in 2017 came at Chester during their May Festival, going a mile and 5/16, 2,100 meters in the Group 3 Huxley Stakes. He won by a neck, beating quite a good field of horses. You know, Chester tends to be towards more front runner horses. Basically, think of Chester as the inner track at Aqueduct, how it used to be a conveyor belt of speed some days. That's how Chester is. You want to be on the lead there, and this horse took advantage of it. Had a very nice, easy victory. If you look at the horses this horse was facing in Europe in 2017, it was the best of the best. Like I said, this race is a major step down class, I think, for him. And at 3-1, you definitely want him on your ticket. He's won here in North America in the past. That came in 2016. When he won the Belmont Derby at Belmont from a wide post draw. He won by a neck. He stalked early, got the lead, and took off clear at the end. But, you know, 13 out of 13 on the inner turf course at Belmont. You don't see horses win that way, but this horse did. Very nice victory. I think coming here today at 3-1, he can run a big one, so watch out for him. Another Beach Patrol's the next horse I want to talk about in this race. I think he has a small chance to win also. The mile and 1/8 distance is probably his best distance, and he looks like he could be the main speed in this race. But he has a wide post draw. Number 10 horse, Beach Patrol, 5-2. Joe Rosario is on this 5-year-old horse by Lemon Drop Kid. His most recent outing came on the 4th of November at Del Mar, mile and 1/2 in the Breeders' Cup turf. He opened my eyes that day. Did not think he was going to get the mile and a half trip at all, but he finished 2nd by a half length. He held his own out against some of the world's best turf horses. You know, he lost to Talismanic, who ran a little bit of a better race at the end, but he stayed the mile and a half. It wasn't a bad race. Before that, Belmont, mile and a half in the Turf Classic Invitational, again a mile and a half. He won by 5 lengths, but he was the only, you know, that was a very subpar Turf Classic Invitational at Belmont this year. You know, but he just won for 5 lengths, and he won nicely. And then before that, the Arlington Million going a mile and a quarter, he won by half length. He stalked early, and he just held on to a very nice victory that day. Finished 3rd in the United Nations around 3 turns at Monmouth. It wasn't his best of races, and he finished 2nd in this race last year by a half length behind Diversido, whatever his name was. You know, he just gave in at the end. The winner just ran a little bit better, but I think today at his definite distance, distance, he has a shot also. He'll be used on my multi-race ticket. Another horse I want to talk about here is number 9 horse Yoshida. He's at 15 to 1. Jose Ortiz is on this one. It's 4-year-old colt by Heart City. Belmont trains this one. This horse's most recent outing came on the 7th of October at Belmont Park, mile and 1/8 on the inner turf course in the Grade 3 Hill Prince. This horse won by a neck. He stalked early, a little bit wide at the top of the lane, but he got there in the end. A nice victory for this horse. Wasn't the best victory, but it wasn't the worst victory. Before then, the Saranac at Saratoga, mile and 1/8 on the Mellon, September the 2nd. He finished second by a neck. He just missed at the end, but he had a great turn of foot that day. And then the Hall of Fame at Saratoga, he finished second. Again, closed up well, just missed at the end. Wasn't a bad outing. His best race lifetime came at Pimlico about a year ago now in the J.W. Murphy. He won by 4 lengths. He sat back early, but he had after a bad break, he sat back early, but he had a great turn of foot in the stretch, took a good advantage of that 2 furlong stretch, and he got there in the end, winning by 4 lengths. Very nice victory. He's a horse, if he's fresh enough, he could do major damage in this race, especially at 15 to 1. So watch out for him. I'm gonna go 4 deep on my multi-race ticket in this race. So watch out. So to recap my bets for the 11th race from Churchill Downs, the 11th race, the 32nd running of the Old Forester Turf Classic, gonna go as a top selection the 4 horse Camelot Kitten. Gonna go 4-1-10-9 in the superfecta. 4-1-10-9 super. I'll use all 4 of those horses in my pick 4 or multi-race ticket. So now let's get on to race number 12 from Churchill. Race number 12 from Churchill. It's the feature race of the afternoon. The 12th race, it's the 144th running of the Kentucky Derby. Grade 1 race going for a purse of $2 million. This race is for 3-year-olds. We have 21 horses entered, but only 20 could go in the starting gate. The distance of ground of 2,000 meters, or the classic distance of 1 mile and 1/4, 10 furlongs on the Churchill main dirt course. This is a great Derby this year. It's very wide open, I think. I'm going to give you my top 6, shall I say, or top 7 here. These are the horses I'll be using in my multi-race ticket, pick 4, pick 5, whatever I decide to play on the day. My top 4 for this race is my top selection for the Derby is going to go to the 5 horse Audible. My second selection here is second I like is the 7 horse Justify. I like the number 14 horse Mendelssohn, and I like the number 9 horse Hofburg. That's my top 4, but the other horses I'll be using on my multi-race ticket will include the 4 horse Flame Away, my long shot play for this race, the number 6 horse Good Magic, and the number 18 horse Vina Rosso. I'm going to talk about every single horse in this race. I decided, let me give you my thoughts on every horse. So we're going to start with the 1 horse Friends Fire, 50 to 1. Paco Lopez, 3-year-old colt by Poseidon's Warrior. Jason Service trains this one. This horse has a shit post draw, let me be honest right away. And he'll have to run his A plus race to win here. I just don't see him doing anything here. His only good victory was the Champagne. Everything since then has been absolutely crap. He won the Jerome, but those are against crap horses. He'll have to run his A race from the rail. I don't think he'll be there today, so he's not a use anywhere for me. The 2 horse Free Drop Billy is a deep closer here. He has a bad post draw. His last victory came in the British Futurity last year at Keeneland, going a mile 16th. He won that race by 4 lengths as the favorite, closed up well. Then after that, he finished 9th in the Breeze Cup Juvenile against really tough horses, and then finished 2nd in the Holy Bull, closing up a little bit, but it wasn't enough to win, and 3rd in the Gotham. He finished 4th in the Bluegrass, but they weren't very good races. He's not a use for me. It's just not a use for me. His dad did win the Belmont Stakes, so Union Rags, but other than that, he's just not a use for me. The 3 horse Promises Fulfilled, 3-year-old colt by Shackelford, not a use for me. He'll be probably on the front end. He'll be setting the pace, most likely, I think. His claim to fame was winning the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream, going a mile and 1/16. Uncontested lead from the outside, and he won by 2 1/4 lengths. But then next start out, he was pressing the pace with another horse, and he just collapsed in the stretch, hit the wall completely. today he's going to have some pressure on him, and I just don't think he'll be getting the mile and a quarter. You know, that Fountain of Youth was just a fluke race. It just wasn't his day to win, and his race over this race course in the fall just wasn't that good either. He finished third after setting the pace. You know, he's not a use for me. The 4-horse Flame Away, I have him as my 5th selection here. He's my long shot play in this race. 30-1, Jose Lascano, 3-year colt by Scat Daddy. You know, he could really close on this race course. His most recent outing in Bluegrass, he finished second by 1.5 lengths that day. It was with the leaders. He just missed at the end. He ran a decent second place finish there. Again, before that, in the Tampa Derby, he finished second by a length, and again, didn't have the best of starts, but he didn't have the best trims, but he got up for second. It wasn't a bad run there. He won the Sam F. Davis on the front end, and he won a very nice race at Gulfstream on the turf. You know, every time I kept going back to him here today, and he's kind of versatile. I think he could close up here from the back of the pack, or he could sit on the front end. You know, I like him quite a bit here. 30-1, I think it's great odds. He'll get a small sneaky win wager from me, and we'll see what happens here. But he's a definite horse you want to use on your superfecta tickets, so watch out for him. The 5-horse Audible is my top selection here. 3-year colt by Into the Mischief. Top Pletcher trains. Javier Castellano looking for his first Derby victory. You know, this horse had a great Florida Derby a few weeks ago. Gulfstream Park, Monmouth, March 31st. He won by 3 lengths. He sat back early after a big speed duel in front of him. He got the lead and he took off clear. He drifted a little bit, but he just won very easily. A great race for this horse. Before that, in the Holy Bull at Gulfstream, mile 16, February 3rd, horse won by 5.5 lengths. Good poster from the inside that day. He stalked, got the lead, and took off clear. Very nice victory. And then an Aqueduct against 4 of the rivals, and just an optional claimer off the turf, going a mile. The horse won by 9 3/4 lengths. Heavy favorite, very easy victory. He's done everything well so far, except he does not train at all. He's not a workhorse in the morning. He does his business in the afternoon when it counts for the purse money. But I think here he has a great post race. He has a great post draw here today. He's coming into this race in his race records really well. Watch out for this horse to run a big one. The 6-horse Good Magic I have for 6th on my ticket here. He's the 6 out of 7 for me. 12-1 Jose Ortiz, 3-year colt by Curlin. Chad Brown looking for his first Derby along with Jose Ortiz. This horse won the Bluegrass a few weeks ago very nicely by 1.5 lengths, closing up from about mid-pack. It was a good race for this horse. It wasn't so impressive as his Brews Cup Juvenile race, but it was a good race. Major improvement off his start before in the Fountain of Youth, where he went 5 steps back. He finished 3rd by 4.5 lengths, and he just never fired. He was overbet that day, I think, and he just never showed up. Maybe he needed the race, I'm not sure. And then before that, the Brews Cup Juvenile, he won the race as a maiden, won by 4.25 lengths. He stalked, got the lead, and took off clear. Very impressive victory. One of the best Breeders' Cup performances of 2017, I think. You know, he's been training well. I like him here on a multi-race ticket, so watch out for him. Number 7 horse Justify. I have him on my second on my main ticket, my superfecta ticket. Shall I say co-top selection. 3-year colt by Scat Daddy. Bob Baffert trains this one. Mike Smith gets the leg up. When was the last time Mike Smith won the Derby? I think 2005 with Giacomo, I believe. He's due for another victory in the Derby. But this horse's most recent outing, Justify, came at Santa Anita, Monmouth and Santa Anita Derby. He won by 3 lengths. He was on lead all throughout and just won easily. He beat Baltioro, who personally I don't think he's a very good horse. This horse just took off clear at 90 cents to the dollar. You know, before that at Santa Anita on the mud seal going 1 mile off 75 claimer. Horse won by 6.5 lengths again that day. He didn't break all that well. He sat back early but took off clear in the stretch. A very easy victory against subpar horses. And then the 18th of February at Santa Anita, 7 furlongs main special weight 54,000. Horse won by 9.5 lengths. Again, he didn't break all that well, but he dueled early, took off clear in the stretch. Biggest question with him is if he wants to win today, he's going to become the first Derby winner to not run as a 2-year-old since Apollo in 1882. He's trying to beat the Apollo curse. You know, he's going to have the biggest challenge today by facing more horses. His field size he's been facing, he's only faced 17 rivals in his 3 starts altogether. Today he has 20 horses to face, or 19 other rivals here, and that's going to be his biggest challenge. But he has a great post right here. He has a great running style to win on this race course. He's settled down well at Churchill. I think he has a major shot here. 3-1. It's not the best price in a big 20 horse field, but he's a horse you definitely want on your ticket. Watch out for this horse. The number 8 horse, Lone Sailor here. I do not like him at all. James Graham, Tom Amos trains this one. 3-0 Colt by Majestic Warrior. He finished second in the Louisiana Derby, closing up a little bit, but he's a closer, but I just do not like him at all. He'll have to run. He'll have to run as A plus plus to the 10th power race. He's trained well, but I just do not like him here. Maybe he's the kind of horse, maybe at the end of the year he'll probably win a grade 3 somewhere for the 3-year-olds, maybe like the West Virginia Derby or some silly race like that. But the Kentucky Derby, I think he's just setting their heights a little bit too hard. Not my cup of tea for this Lone Sailor. The 9 horse Hofberg, I like him 4th here. Juddmont owns this horse. 3-0 Colt by Cabot. Belmont trains this one. Belmont does not run a lot of horses in the Derby. When he runs one in the Derby, you better keep an eye on this one. Irader Tees Jr. looking for his first Derby victory along with Bont. This horse's most recent outing at Gulfstream Park, mile 8th in the Florida Derby. This horse finished second by 3 lengths. Closed up from the back of the pack really well. It wasn't a bad outing. There was a bit of a pace. The front runners really hit the wall in the Florida Derby, and this horse took advantage of this. If there's a pace meltdown, I think this horse really has a shot at the end. But he's another horse. He lacks experience here. He's only had 3 races, but he trains well. But the 3 races, I like to see a horse have at least 6 races coming into the Derby, or 5 races. 3 races, and they've been a lot in between the races. As a 2-year-old, he ran once, and then you didn't see him until March. So September, then till March, he had his next start. But that March race came at Gulfstream, mile 16th, main special weight 53,000. He won by a half length, and something he did that day, which is very remarkable. He broke from stall number 11 of 11 and sat back early, but he won that day from stall number 11, which is unheard of at Gulfstream because there's such a quick run into that turn. The only other horse that could win from outside post draw is 2 horses, Gun Runner going a mile in the 8th, and Big Brown winning from the outside post draw 10 years ago in the Breeders' Cup in the Florida Derby. Then went on to win the Derby last that year. But this horse to win from that post draw was very impressive. Yeah, that was a great victory for this horse. And then as a 2-year-old, first outing at Saratoga, going 7-8 to the main special weight. He finished 4th by 9 lengths. He never was there. Didn't break all that well. Just wasn't his day to win. But like I said, this horse is training well. He's a horse. When Belmont runs a horse in the Derby, you better watch out. I like this horse here a lot. The 10 horse. My Boy Jack, I don't like a lot. Maybe a super high 5 ticket you could put it on, but I don't think he's going to win here. He's a deep closer here. This 3-0 Colt by Creative Cause. He won the Lexington a few weeks ago very nicely, but before that he finished 3rd in the Louisiana Derby, kind of weakening out of it at the end, and he won the Southwest closing up well, but you'll have to see a major pace meltdown here. Like I said, he's not a horse for me to use on a win wager. Maybe a super high 5 at the most, or superfecta, but he'll have to run a really strong race. The 11 horse Baldiora, I hate. I have to be honest, I really don't think he's a good horse. I don't think he's going to get the 1.25 miles. Victor Espinosa is on this one. Mick Ruiz, 3-0 Colt by Medaglia d'Oro. In this race, I don't like him. At the end of the year, I think he'll be a great miler, and he'll probably be a good horse to run in the Breeders' Cup Mile later this year at Dirt Mile later this year at Churchill, but the distance scares me. He finished second in the Santa Anita Derby, getting beat by Justify, who just won for fun. This horse just had, he just never really ran that day. Before then, San Felipe, he finished second by a head, but was placed first because Mackenzie, who bumped into him, got placed second, and this horse got placed first. That was he showed a game heart that day off the layoff, but the race that really tells me this horse is not really good against tougher horses as a 2-year-old in Breeders' Cup Juvenile from a wide post draw. He finished 3rd by 5.25 lengths, then break all that well, closed up a little bit at the end, but it was a very tired horse, and he just he had a wound that day, a wound as in he got shown off as being not so good. I think it was a weird race. It wasn't a very pleasing race for him. I think he went backwards there, but before that he beat the 2-year-olds in California in the front runner and won the Del Mar Futurity very easily against subpar horses. He's facing the best of the best here. I don't think he'll really run at all. best finish, maybe a 10th. I don't think he's going to win 8-1. He's nowhere on my tickets. The 12 horse Entice, nowhere on my tickets either. He's Rio Colt, my Medaglia d'Oro. Junior Alvarado's on this one for Godolphin. You know, this horse's most recent outing came in the Wood Memorial, where he finished second by 3 lengths. He stalked most of the race, and, you know, he just really couldn't get that good closing kick. Vina Rosa just flew by this horse. You know, before that, this horse won the Gotham very easily, but it wasn't the most impressive victories either. And then before that, in the Holy Bull, he finished 4th. He really never had a run that day. But he did win the Kentucky Jockey Club over the surface last fall. That's a great race. A lot of the horses that are coming out of that race are, you know, winning. I believe the next out, the horses that won out of that race are like 50%, something crazy like that. But this horse, he won that day. But again, it wasn't the most pleasing races. You know, I just don't think he's good enough to beat these quality horses today. He could get them on a quarter, just I don't think he's going to win today. Not a use for me. The number 13 horse, Bravazzo, D. Wayne Lucas trains this one, 3 colt by Awesome again. It would always be good to see D. Wayne Lucas win a race, the Derby, in his 80s. I don't think he's going to do it this year, maybe next year, but you know, this horse finished 8th in the Louisiana Derby a few weeks ago. Now, he stalked early and then just hit the wall, completely hit the wall, never got into it at the end. Before that, he won the Risen Star 21-1, but he took advantage of a very speed-favoring race course from the front end and won very nicely. And then before that, at Oakland going a mile, he won nicely by a neck after a little bit of a disaster trip. But you know, his only race, he had 3 races on this race course. He won one of them in a very subpar main special way against not so tough horses. But after that, in the street sense over this race course, he finished 3rd. And then the Kentucky Jockey Club, he finished 10th by 12 lengths. He had a bad trip, but he just never was there. This race is a lot better than that Kentucky Jockey Club race, and he's just not a use for me. Nowhere on my tickets. So in a second, we'll get to Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn is the number 14 horse, and I think he's the 3rd best horse in this race. He's coming in from Ireland to run, and he's trying to become the first Irish-based horse to win the Derby, or the Derby, like we say here in America. This 3-year-old colt by Scat Daddy. Aidan O'Brien trains this one. Ryan Moore gets the leg up. Ryan Moore has never won the Derby, and no horse has ever won the Derby from the UIE Derby, which was run about a month ago now, or 5 weeks ago now, at on a mile and 3/16 on the dirt. This horse won by 18.5 lengths and was given a 106 buyer. He went to the lead and didn't look back. That night at Maidan, and most nights during this year's carnival, the track at Maidan was a conveyor belt of speed. This Ryan Moore took good advantage of it and destroyed the field. It was a subpar group of horses too, but he just destroyed the field. A very easy victory. Before that, in Dundalk in Ireland on the all-weather poly track, 1 mile in the Patent Stakes, this horse won by 3/4 length. Carrying high weight of 134 pounds, was the even money favorite. He was 3rd most of the race up until the straightaway, and then he took off clear. Very easy victory. Wasn't impressive, but it was an easy victory. And then the start before came here in America at Del Mar. 1 mile, 1,600 meters in the Grade 1 Breeze Cup Juvenile Turf. Horse won by a length that day. He just stalked that day, got the lead, and took off clear. Very nice victory for this horse for his first start stateside. And then before that, he ran the Dewhurst at Newmarket in the fall. The Group 1 Dewhurst. He finished 2nd by 2.5 lengths at 50-1 with blinkers for the first time. You know, he ran a great race. I think the blinkers had something to do with it. He quickened up nicely. He wasn't catching U.S. Navy flag, but it was a very good victory for this 2nd place finish for this horse. And then he finished 7th in the Champagne Stakes at Doncaster last September, 7th by 33.5 lengths. He was with the leaders that day, and then he just hit the wall. He never was into it, but I think the dirt should really be this horse's preferable surface, I think, because he's bred for it. He'll also run on turf well too, but he does have a few questions for me. He's gonna get he will get dirt kicked in his face today. He hasn't seen that yet. In Dubai, he handled the dirt, but there was no kickback there, so he's gonna see kickback today. And also, he's going to see a lot more runners. It's going to be, he won't get an uncontested lead like he did at Maidan a few weeks ago, and he won't get, you know, it's going to be a lot more runners he's going to be facing against today. But still, I think he's very good enough to win. He's probably a foreigner's best chance to win the Derby in many, many years. Probably the last foreign horse to have a very good chance to win the Derby had to be his Johannesburg, who's on this horse's sire side. in Johannesburg, unfortunately, got injured right before the Derby, but I think he was the last horse that could probably win the Derby from Europe. And Johannesburg had a great Breeders' Cup at Belmont in 2001. But I like this horse here a lot. 5-1. It's not the best of prices, I must say, but he's a horse you definitely want to use on a multi-race ticket. Watch out for him. The number 15 horse, Instilled Regard. He's not a horse I'm going to use. It's 3-year-old colt by Arch. Jerry Hollendorfer trained this one. Drayton Van Dyke gets his first Derby mount. Why do I keep saying Derby? This horse's most recent outing came in the Santa Anita Derby. He finished 4th by 10 3/4 lengths that day. He was 4th most of the race. Had nothing. He couldn't even beat a subpar group of horses. Before that, at the Fairgrounds, mile 16th in Risen Star, finished 4th by 2 1/4 lengths. That 4th most of the race, a little wide. Never was there. And then he won the La Comant at the Fairgrounds going mile 70 earlier in January. Horse won by 1 3/4 lengths. A little bit wide at the turns, but destroyed that field. It was a field of 13 horses, but it wasn't the deepest 13 horses. He just won easily. And then before that, he finished 3rd in the Los Al Futurity, but was placed 2nd via disqualification. He did get a little interference, but again, it wasn't an impressive race there. He hasn't really run well in my eyes. He's not a horse I would use. Wide poster shouldn't really help him either. It's just not his day to win. But the 16 horse Magnum Moon, I really don't like this one. 3-0 colt by Malibu Moon. Top Fletcher trains. Luis Saez gets on this one. This horse had a good Arkansas Derby. It won by 4 lengths, but he was on lead all throughout. Had a very easy lead victory, and he did drift a little bit at the end, but it was easy. Nobody was catching him that day, and it wasn't the deepest Arkansas Derby in years, like in years past. Before that, he won the Rebel very nicely. And he didn't set the pace early on. He just stalked a little bit early on, and then before that he won the race at Tampa very easily. He's gonna have a very big challenge here today. He'll probably try and get to the front end. But I just don't, like I said, he's going to have a very big challenge today, and it's just not a horse I would really use. 6-1, he's not used for me in anywhere on any ticket. The number 17 horse, Solomini, is not used for me. 30-1, Flavian Pratt, 3-0 colt by Curlin. Probably later in the year, this horse will do well, but just not here. He finished 3rd in the Arkansas Derby, never really got there. He didn't weaken out of it, but he didn't quicken up either. He just kind of stayed. It wasn't his day to win. Before that, in the Rebel, he finished 2nd by 3.5 lengths after not the best of trips that day. And then before that, in Los Al Futurity at Los Alamitos, he won by 3/4 length, but was disqualified and placed 3rd. He was just wide and got bumped at the 16th pole. Did the stewards have the right call? Maybe, maybe not, but again, he just really hasn't run an A race, I don't think. Like I said, maybe later in the year he'll do well. Probably probably maybe the Los Al Futurity or Los Al Derby at Los Alamitos would be a good race for this horse, formerly known as the Swaps, but not today, or maybe even the Dwyer in New York, but just he's not a use for me. The number 18 horse, Vino Rosso, is a horse I'm definitely using on my multi-race ticket. He's at 12-1. The only downfall with this horse is he's breaking in Baron number 18 of 20, which is, the parking lot. He's going to have to overcome that. 12-1. John Velasquez is on this one for Top Fletcher. They won the Derby last year with Always Dreaming. But this horse, he ran in the Wood Memorial a few weeks ago here in New York at Aqueduct, mile 8th. He won by 3 lengths. He sat back early, got the lead in the stretch, and he took off clear. Very nice victory. They did say he bumped at the quarter pole, but I don't really see it. It wasn't enough to disqualify, because I didn't see it. The Wood Memorial was his horse's best race, but it wasn't the deepest Wood Memorial we've ever had either. Before that, in Tampa Bay Derby, mile 16th at Tampa, he finished 4th by 6 lengths. It's a very weird track, Tampa. Some horses either handle it or don't handle it. He didn't really handle it that day. He never really got there. And then before then, Sam F. Davis, he finished 3rd by 1/4 lengths. He just stalked that day, and he didn't weaken out of it, but he didn't quicken up either. Flame Away just ran a little bit better, and then he broke his mate. Actually, he won his 2nd race at Tampa, going mile 40 in late December. He won by 2.5 lengths. If John Velasquez went to Tampa to ride a horse, he wants to win, and this is a good horse, and he won very nicely and had a very nice victory. And then he broke his maiden very nicely at Aqueduct. But he has a wide post draw. I think he can, if he can overcome it. He's a horse that can definitely be a victor here today. He's a horse I'm going to use on my pick 4 ticket or multi-race wager ticket, so watch out for him. The number 19 horse, Noble Indy, another Top Fletcher horse. Florent Giroux is on this one. I don't like him a lot. He won the Louisiana Derby, but he just didn't it wasn't impressive. It was a race for me. Before that, he finished third in the Risen Star after not breaking all that well. And then before that, at Gulfstream Park going a mile 16th and up 75 claimer, he won by 3/4 of a length, but it was a very subpar field of horses, and he just took off clear. And then he broke his maiden very easily at Gulfstream. But the thing with this horse is, he doesn't break all that well. In a field of 20 horses, if you don't break, he's going to be screwed by the out of the gate. His last two, he's had horrible breaks. He hit the gate going out of the Louisiana Derby, and he broke. He was bumped at the break and didn't break all that well in the Risen Star. And his first career outing, he was very fractious before getting into the gate and in the gate, and he did win. But that was the main special against subpar horses. Here he's running in the Kentucky Derby, wide post draw, not a use for me. I just do not even close to the rail with the audience. The people there. He's just not going to do well. He's not a horse I would really use here today. Not to use any of my superfecta high five tickets. So the number 20 horse Combats, 50-1. Ricardo Santana Jr. is on this one for Steve Asperson. 3 colts by Scat Daddy. Scat Daddy has quite a few horses in this race. This horse finished 4th in the Arkansas Derby a few weeks ago. Wide post draw. He closed up a little bit at the end, but it wasn't enough to win. Before then, the Rebel, he finished 3rd, closed up again a little bit at the end, but he didn't break all that well. And then before that, in Southwest, he closed up well at the end, finishing 2nd. But it was against subpar horses. He's a closer here, but he hasn't really run a good race. Maybe he could get a good maybe I'll use him in the superfectas or the high fives, but he's not a horse that's good enough to win. But he could probably maybe get the super high five or maybe the super. But, if to win, he'll have to have a major prayer. I really mean it. And we'll talk about the number 21 horse here, Blended Citizen, also 50-1. Kyle Frey is on this one, 3 colt by Proud Citizen. Doug O'Neill trains. This horse finished 5th in the Bluegrass a few weeks ago. He moved a little at the end, but it wasn't a great race. And before that, he did win the Spiral, or now known as the Jess Ruby Stakes at Turfway, going a mile and 1/8. He won that race by a neck. He quickened up nicely and, took advantage of this one, of that race. But this horse is a turf horse. He's going to be on dirt for the 3rd time, and his dirt races were just so subpar. 50-1. He'll probably have a future on the turf maybe, but just not here in the Derby if he gets in. Not a use for me anywhere. If he runs in the Derby, he's finishing 19th, 20th at the most, because he's just he's not a horse I would really run here. So those are my thoughts on all 20 horses here. So now we'll recap my selections for race number 12, the Kentucky Derby from Churchill Downs. Race number 12, my top selection here in the Derby is number 5, Audible. My second horse here I like is the 7 horse Justified. The third horse I like here is the 14 horse Mendelssohn, and the 9 horse Hofburg is the 4th horse I like. That's my top 4. So it's going to be 5, 7, 49. That's my top 4. All those horses will be used on a multi-race wager ticket, along with the number 4 horse, who is Flame Away, my price play for this Derby. The number 6 horse, Good Magic, will be used on my multi-race ticket wager, and the number 18 horse, Vina Rosso, will be used on my multi-race ticket. So remember, top pick here in the Derby is Audible. So good luck to all. Please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and join me in 2 weeks for my Preakness video preview here on YouTube. Good luck, everybody.